So this concept of doom looping is where what I hear people talk about is they're really freaked out the moment they wake up. And then they're upset about other things. And if you give them some space to talk, sometimes their energy is really fear based, like they're on the verge of like tears, and I don't know if I can do this. Other times there'll be a little bit more energy. They'll be very angry, and there's projection, and it's a coworker or boss or their spouse or one of their children or whatever. They'll find some other way to put that energy out there. And what's happening is they're having a ton of negative emotions, and it feels chaotic, like drowning in an ocean, and they can't seem to get out of this doom loop. It has to do with our biology, and it's just primal. A lot of it is ego based. And that's all, it's like a messenger. I've been saying this for at least 3 years that anxiety is not the thing in and of itself, it's a messenger. It's knocking on the door and saying, I'm not okay. And there's some part of you that's not okay, that's not getting a basic need met, you know? And that can be physical, nutritional, sleep, emotional, a whole bunch of all of it. And quite often, if I look at someone's core values and I'm seeing a lot of love and compassion and empathy and spirituality, and then I see them shifting over into a very ambitious role or a caretaking role, what I'll see is, empathy minus boundaries equals burnout. So you'll see burnout. You'll see heart-centered people, and they don't have the right boundaries in place, and they're not taking care of their own needs. And then in their deep, like kind of in their repressed bitterness, I think some of the more, some people would call it the shadow, perhaps. They're a little ticked off at the rest of the world that they're not getting their needs met. And they think, I'm taking care of everybody else. People should take care of me. And then there's this push-pull with our loved ones, or with, I'll work really hard at work and then I'll get pissed off, and then maybe I'm kind of phoning it in, or I'm not giving my best effort. And instead of really giving my all and being high energy in a meeting, I might be kind of a prick in a meeting and kind of hold back and be snarky. And you'll see that with hardcore empaths. And I'm an empath at heart, but I gotta tell you, I almost felt guilty when I grew beyond empathy and saw that all people are essentially free agents. They can choose to pick their attitudes, and they can choose to change their behavior, and they can choose to collaborate with me, and they can choose to get better, and that you can't fix anybody. I couldn't help anybody. I couldn't help someone that didn't want to go to rehab. I couldn't help someone like when I worked in the ER. I couldn't help people that wouldn't go fill their asthma scripts. I told one kid one day, I said, you just had a near fatal asthma attack. You could have died. Why don't you go to the doctor? Why don't you just go to the pharmacy? If you have government assistance, you could just go get a free albuterol inhaler. Why don't you do it? He goes, I don't know. And I couldn't understand why this young man would not want to just do what he needed to do to treat his asthma. But unfortunately, I couldn't change that. In cases like that, it will burn you out every day. So when we talk about the doom loop, I want you to understand that it's uniquely about your own needs. It's about your own needs. And that anxiety is, oh God. And I'm gonna give you the shortcut, right? It's about abandonment and uncertainty, or the other way around. It's about uncertainty and abandonment. If XYZ doesn't go this way, or XYZ happens, that could cause this, that could cause this, that could cause this, and then I might be alone, I might be abandoned. And that loop will tell you emotional stories that are not true. Now, sometimes and I'll put me in that category years ago, and different people that you might date or even be married to, if they have really crazy upheavals of these and eruptions of these emotions, or hysterical type eruptions of these emotions, there could be deeper stuff at play. That's depth, that's buried back, old childhood stuff. And that's really better suited for behind closed doors in the therapeutic setting with someone who's really professionally trained to kind of bring those characters to the surface and see what's going on, to expose that. So you can't just, openly pull the sheets off someone and say, oh, you're afraid of abandonment and that's why we're fighting. You can't really necessarily do that. But In the context of most functional people, you got up today, you put on clothes, you can shower, you're taking care of yourself, you work in some capacity, or if you do domestic labor, which is a full-time job, by the way, you took care of your kids, you fed people, you do laundry, if you work from home, whatever. Functional meaning you sort of take care of yourself and at least tend to the tribe in some way, whatever tribe you live in, right? And I'm assuming you're functional. Then the doom looping is like everybody's got it, right? And the best way to handle it is, I'm going to call it narrative building, but it's 2 stories. I want you to take 10 minutes, and this is how I said you can shift your mood really quickly. Take 10 minutes with a piece of paper and write down the doom story. Write down, what am I thinking now? And all of those negative emotions, what are they telling you? They're going to leave me. Going to lose the job. It's going to all be bad. We're going to get evicted. Going to have to live on the streets. Write down all the doom story. Never going to get better. Always going to be an unhappy person. I'll never find love. I'll always be single. I want you to write down all the big, scary, horrible shit. Just let it all percolate out. And then take a deep breath. And I want you to write a gratitude list and write it in like kind of a story. Well, I'm here. I've got a roof over my head. I have a partner currently. My kids are okay. I'm employed today. I have some money in a retirement account. I've got health insurance. It's St. Louis for me. It's 70 degrees in St. Louis. I'm going to go take a hike later today. I've got some quiet to myself today. I feel good today. I woke up, I was in a good mood today, right? There's all sorts of ways I could do this. And now I'm taking 2 narratives. We're narrative building here. And when we look at that doom story, and then we look at the gratitude story, because gratitude is usually pretty tangible. I'm grateful that there is food in my fridge. Whatever it is. I'm grateful that my kids were safe today. Whatever it is. I'm grateful that my wife kissed me goodbye before she went to work. So usually if you look at your gratitude stuff, since it's tangible, you'll find empiric, meaning realistic, actual evidence for how your life really is. Right? And then we'll look at the doom story versus your gratitude story. And which one's true? And to be quite honest, you can build off that. And it's not that your emotions aren't real or a big deal. They are real. Your pain is real. They teach you that in medicine. The first thing they teach us about pain management is assume their pain is real. They taught me that at my first module of coach training, where I spent 30 hours basically in a conference room at a hotel in Chicago with trainers and a bunch of people sitting around. They just really broke us down 3 straight 10-hour days. And they taught us, always validate the client. Always believe their story is true. And when you do that and you hold space for people, wow, all this comes to the surface. But just know those emotions are true and you have the right to feel them and they're real. But the story, the narrative they're telling you probably ain't. And if you stop and look at your gratitude story and see how that feels in your body right now, I'm slowing down the pitch of my voice so we can all kind of relax during this. How do you feel with the gratitude story? And what evidence do you have for the gratitude story? And just that shift. Here, we'll all do it together. Feel your heels on the floor. This is kind of a somatic process. And breathe. And there you go. Right? We're okay. If you can learn, and by the way, this doesn't mean you won't need professional help. This isn't shame if you need anxiety drugs or if you need, I'm not shaming anybody. You may need professional help in addition to this, but this is a beautiful way to bring it all back to the current moment and be like, oh, I'm okay. And a lot of the times the doom looping and all that crazy anxiety stuff is just your body. It's freaking out because it thinks it's not okay. And in some ways there's a physical need you could feed it, or an emotional need, or a connection. Sometimes I tell my clients, hey, just shut it down. They say, what's the first way to troubleshoot electronics? Turn it on and off again, cycle the power. I say that's the first rule of troubleshooting a kind of a rough day or a rough week. All right, cool. How about this? Why don't we clear out the calendar a bit? and just shut it down. Let's get home. Let's get around the right people. Let's put the phone on do not disturb. Let's eat a healthy meal, and let's relax. And the first thing I make all of my clients do is go through their smartphone, and we take an audit of everything on the calendar. And I want to know how do you feel about all this crap? And anything that feels stupid, we're going to cut it. We're going to say no. We're going to get off of the neighborhood association board. We're going to quit any committee, any stupid BS you don't need to be involved in. We're going to strip it unapologetically. Why? Because you will only live this life once. You'll only get married to this version of your partner once. You'll only have your children at this stage of their life once. And one day you'll be 65 and you won't have near as much control over all these little things. You won't see the kids as much. And life will be different. Life will be very different. So if you're in that sort, most of the people I coach are between like mid-20s, some, but mostly 30 to 45. So it's like we're trying to make use of what we got today and make good decisions. And you got to log out of all the BS that's not important. Don't pay attention to the stuff that's not important. And get aligned with those core values. Have safe people in your life. And by safe people, I mean people who get you, people who don't get offended if you don't return the call the same day, people who understand you're going to need a couple, 3 weeks lead time to get together and hang out with them, people who can wait, people who understand what season of life you're in, right? Because it's always going to be challenging, right? And so when we talk about the doom loop and how it's a function of ego, remember I said anxiety is the messenger. Our body and our brain, primitively, we're only like a millisecond old of wandering out of the jungle if you look at how old life is, right? They just found new evidence of some fossils. I don't know if it's like in Alaska area that were woolly mammoth tusk, but what was interesting, they definitely looked like they had been sawed into pieces in the same way that we know Neanderthals could have sawed. So it's like, wait a minute. That means that Neanderthals could have been there a long, long, long time ago before we really put them there. And now there's archaeologists and geologists and all these different people that are like angry about, no, that's not true. We know it's true. But that actually also that there could have been Homo sapien, Homo erectus, and Neanderthal all on the earth at the same time. All of these different things about linear evolution, all this different stuff is coming out of the woodwork of like, holy cow, this could be different. So our society, our civilization, most of you are from America or Canada or the West or something. I have a few friends in Germany. But most of you are kind of like our type of society. We're like a millisecond old. Our nervous system is still adapting to this. So, and I've probably lost some people, but if we're going to get into the deep philosophical stuff, which I love because I was a trained philosopher first, is that this is an adaptation. The anxiety mechanisms and some of these doom loops and all this stuff, it's an evolutionary mechanism to get you to preserve your own self. So it's the same reason that we're looking for threats. We're future focused. We are skeptical of certain things. We size people up, right? If you're watching the news makes you anxious. Why does it do that? It's because public relations people and psychologists studied the media a long, long time ago and figured out that you can manipulate people. That's how propaganda was started way, way, way long time ago. So if you're getting fed these loops and these people are bad, conservatives are bad, and then you go down the street and someone's got a sign you don't like. Oh, the world's going bad, or the vice versa. Oh, liberals are bad. And then you drive down the road and there's a younger couple and they've got a liberal sign in their yard. Oh, God, those crazy people. Our community's going to hell. No. It's primitive. It's primitive. Like your nervous system is reaction. You're just still reacting from the standpoint of what you've evolved to do, which is put broad brushstrokes, put people in big boxes, generalization. Those people are bad. Because it'll protect you. It'll stabilize your ego. Projection is great. I tell people all the time, there is nothing as so lovely as self-righteous anger. Because it makes me feel awesome. I have no responsibility for any of this, and it's just wonderful. It's a great way to stay drunk. It's a great way to never hit your health goals and binge eat. It's a great way to blow up your marriage, though. But people love self-righteous anger and anxiety and overgeneralizations and absolute BS media that's lying to you on the whole spectrum of these people. The only audiences, the only people that seem to be able to catch our attentions are the ones that pay for it, the billionaires that own all the crap. So we're going to go full philosophy here. So you're constantly being bombarded with like these Brave New World type advertising campaigns and media campaigns. So you have to opt out of that and understand that you have pretty good amount of control, at least in Western culture. I'll say this, at least in Western culture, you have a good amount of control over what you eat, how you hydrate when you sleep, how you speak to people, how you communicate with your partner, how you request that your emotional and intimate needs be met, how you connect with people, the types of work you do. We have a ton of control over this stuff. And the ego keeps us in that victim place, or it'll keep us in that angry, that combative place. And the victims and combative people they're very dysfunctional. They might be able to hide it if they have people who kind of get locked into their family system and put up with their BS. But at a certain point, victim psychology and combatant, like black and white psychology, it never works. It destroys you and it destroys everybody. It's like, Master Yoda would say, fear leads to the dark side. It leads to rage and wrath, right? And so I'll end there. Hit the links if you want. You can go to adamstevenscoaching.com, download my ebook. You can get on my newsletter list. I send out a couple, maybe one email a month, sometimes two. I don't spam. And if you'd like to learn more about how to work with me to sort of organize your life, I would say I'm kind of like a project manager for busy people. If you have a family right now, a family with multiple kids is basically like a small size business at this point, the way we function in America with 2 working parents. So if you're interested in learning more, go to adamstevenscoaching.com. Thanks for watching.